Introduction. Have you ever felt at the mercy of circumstances, like a leaf dragged by the winds of chance, battered by the storms of others' problems and the negativity of the world? We live in an age that teaches us to seek power outside of ourselves, in money, status, or the approval of others. We seek security within external walls, without realizing that the only true security, the only unshakable force, resides in a place we've forgotten how to visit, our own interior. This feeling of fragility, of being a victim of the world, is the greatest illusion a human being can live under. Because the truth is this: deep inside you, buried beneath layers of doubt, fear, and social conditioning, lies an impregnable fortress, an inner citadel of power and resilience so vast that if you were aware of it, no external storm could ever disturb your peace again. In the heart of this fortress sleeps a giant, your true inner strength, your connection to the infinite power of the universe. The problem is that we've lost the map to reach it. We have forgotten how to open its gates, and by living outside its walls, we have become vulnerable to all the fears and imaginary dangers of the world. This audiobook is the treasure map. It is the master key. It is the architect's guide that will teach you step by step to rediscover, rebuild, and reclaim your inner fortress. We are not going to give you a strength you do not possess. We are going to show you how to awaken the strength you already have. Together, we will excavate the foundations, demolishing the old beliefs that weaken you. You will learn to build solid walls of resilience, using your thoughts as bricks and your imagination as the master blueprint. You will discover the core of inexhaustible energy that lies at the center of your being, your subconscious power, and you will learn to direct it to heal your body, conquer your goals, and live from a state of unshakable calm and authority. This journey of self-discovery and empowerment is one that we value and share with a growing community of seekers. If you feel the call to reclaim the power that is yours by birthright, I invite you to join our legion of awakened minds. Like this content, if it resonates with your search for strength, share this map with anyone you know who also needs to find their inner citadel. Subscribe to our channel, The Hidden Knowledge, so you don't miss any of the tools and revelations we share. And very importantly, hit the notification bell to be the first to receive every new key that will help you unlock the doors to your power. The fortress has waited in silence for too long. The giant inside is beginning to stir. Are you ready to give the command to awaken? Chapter 1. The Vein of Power. Discovering your hidden strength. From the beginning of our existence, we all fight the same fundamental quest, the search for strength. We seek the strength to overcome obstacles, to withstand life's storms, to shield ourselves from pain, and to build a life of security and meaning. It is the deepest yearning of the human soul. But our society, since birth, trains us to look for that strength in the wrong places. It teaches us to seek it in the outer world. We believe we will find it in a fat bank account, a prestigious professional title, the recognition and approval of others, the perfect partner who completes us, or a physically imposing body. And so we spend our lives frantically building these external fortresses. We dedicate decades to accumulating wealth, climbing the corporate ladder, cultivating a social image, and chasing relationships, convinced that once we have raised these walls around us, we will finally feel secure, powerful, and invulnerable. But inevitably, life proves the fragility of these constructions. An economic crisis can tear down the fortress of money. A change at the company can shatter the fortress of status. A betrayal can demolish the fortress of a relationship. And time inexorably erodes the fortress of the physical body. By building our security on these shifting sands, we condemn ourselves to a life of chronic anxiety, a state of constant vigilance, always fearful that the next storm will collapse our precarious walls. And then, in the quiet that follows disappointment, the most important question arises: what if we have been looking in the wrong direction? What if the feeling of weakness and vulnerability that pursues us is not due to a lack of external support, but to our disconnection from an internal source of power, a source so vast and so indestructible that, if we knew how to access it, no external circumstance could ever make us feel weak again? This audiobook is an archaeological expedition into the depths of your own being. Together, we are going to excavate through the layers of conditioning, fear, and doubt that have accumulated over the years. And beneath those layers, you will discover something astonishing. You do not have to build your strength because you already possess it. You do not have to acquire power because you are power. At the core of your being lies a vein of inner strength, a hidden citadel, a source of power so real and potent that it dwarfs any fortress you could build in the outer world. Today we begin to unearth it. This hidden fortress, this sleeping giant within you has a name. It is your subconscious mind. We have spoken of it in other contexts, but today we will explore it from the perspective of pure strength. Forget for a moment the idea that your mind is just the voice chattering in your head, the one worrying about bills and planning dinner. That is your conscious mind, and in the architecture of your being it fulfills the role of the fortress guardian. It is the lookout who walks the battlements, observes the outside world, analyzes threats and makes tactical decisions. It is an important function, but its power is limited. The guardian's strength is the strength of a single person. Its will tires, its attention scatters, and its knowledge is finite. The true strength of the realm does not reside in the solitary guardian, but in the fortress itself, in the giant sleeping beneath its foundations. Your subconscious mind is that fortress. It is the source of all real power in your life. It is the architect who built your body, the general who commands your internal armies, and the genius who holds the solution to all problems. Your conscious mind thinks. Your subconscious mind creates. Your conscious mind chooses. Your subconscious mind executes. This idea may sound abstract to you, but the evidence of your subconscious's phenomenal power is all around you, operating in your life this very instant, even if you don't realize it. First, observe the power over your body. Right now, as you listen to this, your subconscious is performing millions of vital operations. It is pumping your blood with a perfect rhythm, turning your last meal into living tissue and energy, coordinating the dance of billions of neurons in your brain, and maintaining your body temperature in precise balance. If you cut your finger, you don't have to consciously tell your body how to heal. The subconscious intelligence, your inner architect, activates a process of astonishing complexity to close the wound, prevent infection, and generate new skin. This power is not small. It is miraculous intelligence that sustains your life every second. If this force is capable of turning a broken bone into solid tissue without your conscious aid, imagine what it could do if you learned to direct it deliberately toward a goal. Second, observe the power over your skills. Remember learning a complex skill, like driving a car or playing a musical instrument. At first, it was an agonizing process for your conscious mind, the guardian. You had to think about every little movement, the clutch, the gear shift, the wheel, the mirrors. It was exhausting. But as you practiced, something magical happened. The task was transferred. The conscious guardian handed over responsibility to the fortress. And suddenly, you could drive while holding a conversation without thinking about the details. Who was driving? Your subconscious. It had absorbed the skill and now executed it automatically, with a precision and speed your conscious mind could never match. This demonstrates your inner giant's capacity to take over and perform complex tasks with superhuman power and efficacy. Third, observe the power of your intuition. Have you ever had a strong hunch, a gut feeling that told you not to trust someone or not to take a certain path? Or have you had a flash of inspiration, the solution to a problem that came to you out of nowhere while showering? Those are not random thoughts. They are whispers from the giant. They are communiques sent from the fortress. Your subconscious perceives and processes an infinitely greater amount of information than your five senses. It senses others' non-verbalized intentions, detects subtle patterns in the environment, and has access to a wisdom that transcends logic. When you learn to listen to and trust this guidance, you ally yourself with a counselor who sees the complete map of the battlefield, not just the small sector the guardian can observe from the battlements. So if this immense power, this fortress, this giant resides within us, why do we so often feel weak, afraid, and helpless? Why does the giant sleep? The answer is as simple as it is profound. The giant sleeps because we, the guardians of the fortress, have been lulling it with poisoned lullabies. The subconscious mind, with all its power, is fundamentally a servant. It is impersonal. It has no will of its own. Its sole nature is to accept as truth the beliefs, feelings, and images that the conscious mind, its guardian, presents to it. The giant does not direct itself. It awaits orders from the lookout on the wall, and for years we have been giving it the wrong orders. We have been administering 3 potent sedatives that keep it in a state of lethargy and misdirected power. The 3 sedatives keeping the giant asleep. The first sedative is doubt, the poison of I can't. Every time you say think, or feel I can't, it's too difficult, or I'm not capable, you are administering a dose of this sedative to your inner power. You are giving a direct order to your infinite strength that it is, in reality, limited. You are telling the giant you are weak. Do not rise. And the giant, in its absolute obedience, shrinks. It adopts the limitation you have imposed on it. Your belief in your own helplessness becomes the chain that keeps the giant tied to the ground. It's not that the giant cannot break the chain. It's that you, its master, have commanded it not to. Doubt is a decree of weakness. The second sedative is fear, the distraction of what if. Chronic fear and worry are like a constantly ringing false fire alarm in the fortress. When you live in a state of what if I lose my job? What if I get sick? And what if they leave me? You are forcing your giant to dedicate all its immense energy to a single task, defending against imaginary threats. Instead of using its power to build new palaces, expand the realm and create marvelous works, the giant spends its days and nights patrolling the walls, exhausting itself in a battle against ghosts. A fortress under constant, even imaginary siege cannot prosper. Fear is a decree of paralysis. The third sedative, the most potent of all, is unworthiness, the belief I don't deserve. This is the root of most of our failures. Deep within our programming, many of us harbor a toxic belief that we are not worthy of true happiness, true success, or unconditional love. Perhaps it was a seed planted in childhood, a past mistake we never forgave ourselves for, or constant comparison with others. Whatever its origin, this belief is the deepest sedative. It tells the giant, don't bother to rise because your master, this person you inhabit, is not worthy of your power. They do not deserve the treasures you could bring them. And the giant, in its loyalty, respects that belief. It will keep you in a state of mediocrity and self-sabotage, because that is the condition you have decreed as your true level of deserving. Unworthiness is a decree of self-cancellation. By understanding this, we realize something crucial. The giant has never truly been asleep. It has always been working. It has always been using its infinite power. The problem is that, under the influence of these sedatives, it has been using it to create precisely what we do not want. It has used its power to manifest our limitations, to attract our fears, and to validate our sense of unworthiness. We are not victims of weakness. We are victims of the misuse of an unimaginable force. The first step to awakening the giant and putting its power to our service is not a complicated technique. It is simply this act of awareness. It is the recognition, here and now, that the strength you have been seeking outside of you has been residing within you all this time. It is realizing that your weakness was not a condition, but a choice based on mistaken beliefs. This awareness is the first trumpet call resounding in the silent courtyards of your fortress. It is the first sound that disturbs the giant's sleep. For the first time, perhaps, the guardian on the wall is not singing a lullaby of fear or doubt. It is emitting a new note, the note of possibility. In the chapters that follow, you will learn the rest of the symphony. You will learn to detoxify your mind from the sedatives that have kept it asleep. You will learn to speak the giant's language, the language of feeling and faith, which is the only one it understands. You will learn to give it clear, beautiful blueprints through your imagination, so that it builds a life of health, abundance, and joy. You will become the conscious master of your power, the director of the greatest force in the universe. But it all starts here. With this recognition, the strength you seek is not something you must build. It is something you must awaken. The power you long for is not something you must acquire. It is something you must direct. The giant has heard the first call. It is starting to stir in its long slumber. The question you must ask yourself is, are you ready to give it your first conscious command? Chapter 2. Cracked Foundations. Demolishing the Beliefs that Weaken You. In the previous chapter, you discovered the deepest truth about yourself. You are not a fragile being at the mercy of circumstances, but the possessor of an inner fortress, the master of a sleeping giant of unimaginable power. You have become aware of the vein of power residing in your subconscious. However, a fortress, no matter how sturdy its material, is only as strong as the foundations upon which it is built. If the foundations are cracked, crooked, or built on unstable ground, Any wall you try to raise, no matter how thick, will eventually waver and collapse before the first storm. Our fundamental beliefs are the foundations of our inner fortress. They are not our passing thoughts. They are the deep, often invisible truths we have accepted about ourselves, about others, and about life. They are the invisible architecture of our reality. They are the constitutional decrees of our inner kingdom, the fundamental laws that dictate what is possible and what is not. The problem is that most of us have not consciously designed these foundations. They were built for us in the darkness of our childhood, when we were too young and impressionable to question the quality of the materials or the skill of the architects. Imagine your child's mind as the open ground where your fortress was to be built. In those early years, the guardian of the wall, your conscious, critical mind, was not yet at its post. The gates of the realm were wide open. Any seed, any suggestion, any decree issued by the giants of your world, your parents, your teachers, your culture, was accepted without question and became a foundational stone. If your parents, perhaps with the best of intentions but limited by their own beliefs, repeatedly told you, "Be careful, the world is a dangerous place," that phrase was not just advice. It became a cornerstone in your foundation, a fundamental belief that would color your entire perception of reality. If a frustrated teacher told you, "You're no good at art," that opinion solidified as an irrefutable fact in your mental architecture. If you watched your family constantly struggle for money, you didn't learn a lesson about economics. You learned a fundamental law of the universe. Life is a struggle and money is scarce. In addition to this initial programming, sometimes an earthquake shakes the ground. A traumatic event, a loss, a humiliation, a betrayal can create a deep, instant crack in our foundations, generating beliefs like "I am not safe," "No one can be trusted," or the most destructive of all, "It was my fault." Once these cracked foundations are in place, they begin to operate invisibly, creating a self-perpetuating cycle. The belief creates the thought generates the feeling dictates the behavior, and the behavior produces a result in the outer world that inevitably seems to confirm the original belief. If you have the fundamental belief that you are not interesting in a social situation, that belief will generate anxious thoughts. "I don't know what to say as I'm going to bore everyone." Those thoughts will create a feeling of insecurity. That insecurity will make you behave in a withdrawn and awkward manner, and that behavior will cause people not to connect with you, which will serve as irrefutable proof of your original belief. "See? I'm not interesting." You don't realize that you are not a victim of the situation, but the architect of it, building a reality that perfectly fits the flawed blueprint of your foundations. Therefore, the first act of a sovereign reclaiming their fortress is not to start building new walls. It is to have the courage to descend into the dark basements of their mind, light the torch of self-awareness, and conduct a thorough inspection of the foundations. Today, we are going to identify the 3 great structural cracks that weaken the majority of humanity, so you can begin the work of demolition and prepare the ground for new construction. The 3 structural cracks in your foundation. The first great crack: helplessness, the belief, "I can't." This is the most common and visible crack. It is the fundamental belief in our own inability. It is the sedative of doubt we discussed in the previous chapter, solidified into law. It manifests through a torrent of helplessness decrees we issue every day. "I can't start that business. I can't learn that language. I can't lose weight. I'm not disciplined, intelligent, creative enough." This belief turns our inner giant into a chained giant. Although it possesses infinite strength, it obeys its master's command that it is powerless. And so, the force remains latent, unused. The life of a person dominated by this crack is a life of unrealized potential. It is a life of if-onlys and postponed dreams. The symptoms of this crack are chronic procrastination, the fear of starting something we believe we will fail at, fear of failure, which is really the fear of confirming our belief in incapacity, and a pattern of self-sabotage just when we are about to achieve something important. Take a moment for your first royal inspection. Where does this crack manifest in your kingdom? What great project have you been postponing for years because a voice inside tells you that you are not capable? What skill have you always wanted to learn, but dismissed as too difficult for you? What is the story you tell yourself about your own talents and abilities? Be brutally honest. Write the phrase, "I believe I can't." Finish that sentence. Bringing this belief from the shadows of the basement into the light of your consciousness is the first step to stripping it of its power. The second great crack, unworthiness, the belief, "I don't deserve." If helplessness is a visible crack on the surface, unworthiness is a deep fracture in the bedrock, often completely invisible, but which compromises the entire structure. It is the belief that, on a fundamental level, we are not worthy of the good things in life. It is a sense of inherent flaw, the conviction that something is wrong with us. This is the most poisonous lullaby we have sung to our giant. We have told it, "Don't bother to bring the kingdom's treasures, because I, your master, am not worthy of them." And the giant, in its loyalty, keeps us in a state that corresponds to our sense of deserving. This crack manifests in very subtle ways. It shows up in the inability to accept a genuine compliment. When someone praises you, do you feel an immediate need to deflect it or minimize your achievement? It manifests in the tendency to settle for less than what is desired in relationships, work, or life, because deep down, we don't believe we deserve the best. It manifests in the feeling of guilt or anxiety when things are going well, that strange feeling of, "This is too good to be true," that leads us to wait for the other shoe to drop. It manifests in difficulty setting a fair price for our services, or discomfort receiving gifts or help. Conduct your second inspection. What is your relationship with deserving? When you imagine your ideal life, filled with love, success, peace, is there a part of you that feels that is for others, not for you? When was the last time you allowed yourself to receive something good without feeling the need to justify it or immediately return the favor? What voice is activated when things go exceptionally well in your life? Identify the belief, "I believe I don't deserve," because do not judge what surfaces, simply observe it. You are identifying another faulty law that has been governing your kingdom in the shadows. The third great crack, scarcity, the belief there isn't enough. This crack is not so much about ourselves, but about our fundamental belief in the nature of life and the universe. It is the conviction that resources, love, money, opportunities, success, are limited, scarce, and difficult to obtain. A person living under the law of scarcity sees life as a zero-sum game. If someone else succeeds, it means there is less success available for them. They feel envy towards others' prosperity. They hoard resources for fear they will run out. They live in a state of constant competition and comparison. Their motto is, "Life is a struggle." This belief forces the inner giant to operate in survival mode. It turns it into a fearful miser, instead of the generous channel of an infinite source. When you believe in scarcity, your subconscious focuses on lack, and by law, it attracts more experiences of limitation. You close your hand in a fist to protect the little you have, without realizing that a closed hand cannot receive anything new. The third inspection is about your worldview. When you see someone succeed, what is your instinctive reaction? Joy for them or a pang of envy? Do you feel you have to fight and compete fiercely for every opportunity? Do you believe the universe is a hostile and stingy place, or an abundant and generous one? Identify your fundamental law about life. I believe life is... The first stroke of the mallet, the art of conscious demolition. Once we have identified these three great cracks, helplessness, unworthiness, and scarcity, the sovereign's work begins. We cannot build a solid fortress upon these foundations. First, we must demolish them. Demolition is an act of power, not violence. It is not about hating or punishing yourself for having had these beliefs. It is about calmly recognizing that they are old, obsolete laws that no longer serve the new kingdom you have decided to build. Tool 1. The Decree of Sovereign Nullification. Your first act as a conscious sovereign is to formally declare that these old laws are no longer valid. This is a ritual act of immense psychological power. Take the limiting belief you have identified, for example, "I am not good enough to succeed." Write it down on a piece of paper. Now stand up, like a sovereign addressing their court, and read the belief aloud. And then, with all the authority you can muster, issue your decree of nullification. Say, I, your name, sovereign of my inner kingdom, having identified this ancient law based on ignorance and fear, hereby declare it null, void, and abolished forever. This belief no longer has power or authority in my kingdom. I withdraw all my energy, all my attention, and all my faith from it. I so decree, and so it is. Afterward, safely tear up or burn the paper. You have performed a symbolic act that sends an unequivocal message to your subconscious. There is a new ruler on the throne, and the old laws no longer apply. Tool 2. The royal interrogation. An entrenched belief is like a stubborn old minister who refuses to leave the court. Sometimes you need to interrogate it to expose the falsehood of its arguments. When you catch yourself acting from an old belief, stop and subject it to these 3 royal questions. Question 1. Who originally dictated this law? Trace the origin of the belief. Was it a comment from your father? An experience of failure in school? By identifying its origin, you realize it is not your truth. It is an outdated conclusion based on a child's perception or another person's opinion. You depersonalize it. Question 2. Is this law absolutely true, without any doubt? Now, become a detective and look for evidence to the contrary. If your belief is, I am a failure, search your memory for any success, however small. An exam you passed, a friend you helped, a meal you cooked well. Every piece of counter-evidence weakens the authority of the old law. You will discover that no limiting belief is 100% true. Question 3. What has been the cost to my kingdom of obeying this law? This is the final blow. Take an inventory of the price you have paid for living under this tyranny. How many opportunities have you lost? How much joy has it stolen from you? How much peace has it cost you? By becoming aware of the immense cost of the belief, your desire to free yourself from it becomes overwhelming. This is a work of conscious demolition. Every time you question an old belief, every time you nullify it with your sovereign authority, you are striking a blow with the mallet at the old, cracked foundations. At first, only small chips may fly off, but with persistence, the cracks will widen, the structure will weaken, and finally, the old edifice of your limited identity will collapse. Do not be discouraged if this process takes time. You have been building and reinforcing these foundations for a lifetime. Demolition will not happen in a day, but every act of self-awareness, every choice to challenge an old belief, is an act of power that brings you closer to freedom. You have conducted the inspection of your fortress. You have identified the fatal cracks, and you have begun to wield the mallet of your consciousness. The noise of demolition may be uncomfortable, the dust may cloud your vision for a time, but it is the sound of progress. It is the sound of an old order crumbling to make way for a new one. You have cleared the ground. You have removed the debris of the laws that weakened you. Now the soil of your inner garden is ready. Chapter 3. The bricks of reality, the creative power of your thoughts. The ground is clear. In the previous chapter, you performed the brave work of inspecting the foundations of your inner fortress, identifying the cracks of helplessness, unworthiness, and scarcity, and you began the process of conscious demolition. You have declared the old laws that kept you weak to be null and void. Now you stand before a clean building site, a space of pure potential. The fundamental question is, what will we build with now? If the old beliefs were the faulty foundations, what are the materials for the new and magnificent citadel we are going to erect? The answer is, at once, the simplest and most radical idea you will ever encounter. The construction materials of your life, the very bricks of your reality, are your thoughts. Pause for a moment and consider this statement. We have been conditioned to believe that thoughts are ephemeral and inconsequential things. They are just ideas, clouds of smoke that form and dissipate in our heads with no real effect. We believe that the real world is the world of solid objects, circumstances, and actions. But this is an inversion of the truth. The truth is that your thoughts are not mere shadows. They are the substance. They are not the echo. They are the voice. Every thought you hold in your mind is a real thing, a vibration of energy, a tangible cause that sooner or later must produce an effect in your world. Your thoughts are the invisible bricks with which, moment by moment, you build or destroy the fortress of your life. All creation follows this same principle, from the most magnificent to the most mundane. Look at the chair you are sitting on. Before it was a physical object, what was it? It was an idea in the mind of a designer. It was a thought. The designer held that thought, refined it in their imagination, created a blueprint, another set of structured thoughts, and then, through action, that thought energy coagulated into a physical form. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, before vibrating the air of a concert hall, was a silent symphony vibrating solely in the composer's mind. The technology that allows you to hear my voice right now was, at its origin, a series of bold thoughts in the minds of inventors and scientists. There is nothing in your created world that did not first exist as a thought. You are not the exception to this cosmic law. You are its most intimate example. Your body, your health, your finances, your relationships, all the conditions of your life are the outer manifestation of your habitual thoughts. You do not have the life you deserve or the life you happened upon. You have the life that corresponds to your dominant thoughts. We can return for an instant to our garden metaphor. If your beliefs are the foundations and the quality of the soil, your thoughts are the seeds you plant every day. A fleeting thought is a seed you drop by accident. It may not germinate, but a thought you entertain, that you water with your attention, that you fertilize with your emotion, is a seed you are deliberately planting. And a habit of thought, your mindset, is the act of planting the same kind of seed over and over until that plant becomes the dominant harvest of your garden, the predominant condition of your life. You are not merely a person who has thoughts. You are a center of thought in a field of creative energy. You are a broadcasting tower, and your thoughts are the frequency you emit, a frequency that shapes the energy around you and attracts experiences that vibrate on that same frequency. The question, therefore, is not whether you are creating with your thoughts. You always are. The only question is, are you creating consciously or unconsciously? Are you building a fortress or a prison? The mental diet, choosing the right bricks. These are the thought patterns you must begin to eliminate from your mental diet. They are the bricks made of poorly fired clay, full of cracks. Thoughts of criticism and judgment. Every time you criticize, judge, or condemn another person, you are manufacturing and placing a faulty brick in your own walls. The thought of criticism generates an emotion of discord and separation. By emitting that frequency, by the law of the mirror, you attract more circumstances toward you that will make you feel criticized and judged. As we have seen, forgiveness is not for the other person. It is the act of cleaning your own realm of a toxic material that is making you ill. Thoughts of worry and fear. We have already discussed them, but it is worth repeating. Worry is the act of using the best bricks, your creative power, to deliberately construct the blueprint of a disaster. It is a negative prayer. Every thought of fear is a brick you use to build the walls of your own prison. Mental superfoods, the noble materials. Thoughts of love and goodwill. This is the cement that binds the bricks of your fortress. Every time you send a thought of love, kindness, or blessing to another person, even someone you dislike, you are filling your own realm with that same energy. As a sovereign who decrees peace and generosity, you create an atmosphere where only harmony can flourish. What you give out mentally, you receive back physically. Thoughts of faith and confidence. These are the foundational bricks. It is the act of focusing your mind on solutions, possibilities, and the certainty that your inner power is working for your good. Every thought of faith is a steel reinforcement in your new construction. Thoughts of forgiveness and peace. If resentment is poison, forgiveness is the antidote. Choosing to forgive is choosing peace for your own realm. It is a decree that releases a huge amount of mental energy that was previously trapped in the past. To gain a real awareness of the quality of your current mental diet, I propose a powerful challenge, the 7-day mental diet. The challenge is simple in concept, but incredibly revealing in practice. For 7 consecutive days, you commit to not entertaining any junk thought. You cannot allow yourself a single thought of criticism, complaint, resentment, fear, or doubt. This does not mean those thoughts won't appear. They will. They are deeply ingrained habits. Your task, as the Fortress Guardian, is that the moment you detect one, you reject it and immediately replace it with a superfood thought. The rule is strict. If you catch yourself clinging to a negative thought for more than 1 minute, you have broken the diet, and you have to restart from day one. Do not be discouraged if you have to restart several times. The purpose of this exercise is not to achieve immediate perfection, which is nearly impossible. The true purpose is the training of awareness. You will become painfully aware of how often your mind, by default, feeds on junk. This awareness is the first and most important step toward change. Around you on the floor are piles of bricks of all kinds. Bricks of fear, bricks of gratitude, bricks of criticism, bricks of love. An automatic thought is simply a brick that appears at your feet. It has no power by itself. Its power is granted by you the moment you bend down, pick it up, and decide to place it in the wall of your reality. The fundamental practice of a conscious builder is deliberate substitution. It is the art of inspecting every brick and choosing only the best. It is the stop-and-swap technique we already know, applied as a constant discipline. You grab the thought, all things are possible for me, and the intelligence of my subconscious is guiding me to the perfect outcome, and you place that brick firmly in its place. To make this process faster and more automatic, it is helpful to have an emergency master brick, a power thought you can instantly resort to. Create your own power affirmation, one that resonates deeply with you. It could be, everything works out for my good, or, in my world, everything is in divine and perfect order, or I am one with infinite power, and that power is my provision, my guide, and my protection. Memorize your phrase, and every time a negative thought assails you, use it as your sword to cut it down, and as your trowel to place a brick of power in its stead. Building the habit of powerful thought. Do not be fooled. This work requires discipline, especially at the beginning. Your mind has been building with faulty bricks for years. Those are the only ones it habitually knows how to grab. At first, you will have to be an incredibly vigilant supervisor on your own construction site. You will have to correct your mental workers, your thought patterns, hundreds of times a day. But every time you consciously choose a thought of faith instead of fear, you are doing a repetition in the gymnasium of your mind. You are strengthening the muscle of your will. You are creating a new neural groove. With each repetition, the new thought habit becomes easier, more natural. A point will come where you will no longer have to be such a strict supervisor. Your mental workers will have retrained themselves. Their new habit will be to automatically look for and grab bricks of gratitude, love, and confidence. They need a blueprint, a vision. In the next chapter, we will summon the royal architect, your imagination, to design the magnificent blueprints of the life you will build upon this new and powerful base. Chapter 4. The Architect's Blueprints. Designing your destiny with imagination. In the previous chapter, we accomplished one of the most fundamental tasks of mental mastery. We learned to choose our construction materials. You discovered the truth that your thoughts are not ethereal entities, but the very bricks of your reality. You have begun the discipline of the mental diet, consciously choosing thoughts of faith, gratitude, and love, and rejecting the faulty bricks of doubt, complaint, and fear. You have prepared a stack of the noblest, most resistant materials. This is one of the biggest lies we have been told, one that has kept our inner giant building shacks instead of cathedrals. Imagination is not a fantasy. It is the soul's secret workshop. It is the royal architect's studio. It is the divine faculty that allows you to shape the formless, see the invisible, and bring into being that which does not yet exist. Imagination is the golden bridge that connects the world of cause, your mind, with the world of effect, your life. Your thoughts, as we have seen, are energy, but energy without direction is chaotic and unproductive. Imagine electricity. It is a powerful force, but by itself it does nothing. For it to illuminate a room, that energy must be channeled through a specific circuit, a blueprint, that directs it toward a light bulb. Your imagination is that circuit. It is the mold that takes the formless energy of your thoughts and channels it toward a specific, defined result. Without the blueprint of imagination, your thought energy dissipates. With a clear and sustained blueprint, that same energy concentrates and creates worlds. Like the other faculties of your mind, your imagination has been functioning your entire life, whether consciously or unconsciously. The inner architect never rests. The only question is, what kind of blueprints has it been drawing? For most, the architect has been left to its own devices, unsupervised, and in that state, it often engages in its favorite and most destructive activity, worry. Worrying is the undisciplined use of the imagination. It is the act of sitting in the design studio and spending hours drawing in exquisite detail the blueprints of catastrophe. The architect imagines job loss, sickness, the failure of a relationship. It paints every scene with the darkest colors of fear and anxiety. And the inner giant, the subconscious master builder, who is absolutely loyal, takes those detailed, emotion-filled blueprints and says, "Understood. This is the master's vision. I will begin building this immediately." And then we wonder why our lives are filled with what we fear most. But there is another way to use this faculty. We can turn the undisciplined architect into a conscious master designer. For the subconscious master builder to construct effectively, the blueprint you hand it must follow certain principles. A vague, contradictory, or unapproved, unfelt blueprint will be ignored or misinterpreted. Principle 1. Design the end, ignore the means. This is the most important principle and often the hardest for our logical mind to accept. The architect's job is to design the finished building. It is to visualize the fortress already built in all its glory with the flags waving in the sun. It is not its job to worry about how the stones will be transported from the quarry, or how the foundation problem on difficult ground will be solved, or in what order the towers will be built. The how is the domain of the master builder, your subconscious. Its wisdom and resources for solving logistical problems are infinitely superior to those of your conscious mind. If you, as the architect, start obsessing over the how, you are limiting the possibilities. You are saying, "This building can only be constructed in this specific way that I know." And by doing so, you close the door to a million faster, easier and more ingenious ways that your subconscious could utilize. Your sole task in the imagination workshop is to define and experience the final outcome. If you want a new home, do not visualize the process of searching real estate listings, negotiating with banks or moving. Those are the means. Go straight to the end. Visualize and feel yourself inside the new home, perhaps cooking your first dinner, with a deep sense of gratitude and "I am home now." What do you hear? A silent blueprint is a dead blueprint. Add sound. Are there voices? What exactly are they saying? Is it the sound of congratulations, of "I love you"? Is there background music? The sound of the sea? The silence of peace? Hear the sounds of your fulfilled scene. What do you smell and taste? These senses are deeply connected to memory and emotion. Is there an odor in your scene? The smell of a new car, the perfume of a loved one, the aroma of the sea, the taste of celebration champagne. Adding a smell or taste makes the experience incredibly real. But that is already absolutely real in the only place where creation begins, your own mind. Principle 3. Motion is emotion, the seal of feeling. Now we have a detailed, multi-sensory blueprint, but it lacks the final ingredient, the one that gives it life and turns it into an irrevocable command, the royal seal of feeling. A scene, however vivid, if emotionally neutral, is like a magnificent blueprint that has never been approved by the king. It remains in the archive, unexecuted. As we learned in the previous chapter, feeling is the language of the subconscious. Quiet pride? Unshakable security? Identify the central emotion of your fulfilled desire and immerse yourself in it. Let it vibrate in your chest, in your stomach, in every cell of your body. This emotion, this feeling, is the architect telling the master builder, "The blueprint is approved, it is final. Begin construction now." The architect's daily practice, the sacred workshop. With the principles of design in your power, you now need a time and place to practice. Your most sacred workshop, your most effective architecture studio is your own bed, in the moments just before sleep. As we have already established, This drowsy state or sleep-like state is your direct gateway to the subconscious. It is the moment when the architect has a direct, interference-free line to the master builder. To maximize the effectiveness of this practice, follow these steps. 1. Immobilize your physical body. Once you are comfortably lying down, adopt a position where you don't need to move. Now, imagine that your physical body is already asleep. It is heavy, inert, a dead weight on the bed. Feel that you cannot move a finger, not because you are paralyzed by fear, but because you are deeply relaxed. This act of physical immobilization has one purpose. It concentrates all your energy and consciousness on your inner body, on the imaginative act. 2. Enter your scene. With your physical body immobile, allow your consciousness to enter your scene of the wish fulfilled. Remember, it must be a short scene, an instant that implies everything is done. 3. Repeat the scene in a loop. Do not strive. With passive, relaxed attention, replay that short scene over and over in your mind. It is like gently rocking a cradle. The effortless repetition is what etches the image into the subconscious. 4. Focus on the feeling. As you repeat the scene, keep your main focus on the emotion, on the feeling of the desire fulfilled. Let that feeling be the last thing that lulls you to sleep. If you fall asleep in the middle of this act, you have had a resounding success. You have delivered the blueprint to the builder at the moment of maximum receptivity. It is possible that you will encounter some challenges at first. If you find it hard to see the image, don't worry. Visualization is not the same for everyone. The important thing is the feeling. If you can capture the feeling, even with a blurry image, the work is done. If your mind wanders, don't get frustrated. That's normal. Like a playful puppy, simply bring your attention back to the scene over and over with kindness. If you fall asleep too quickly, don't worry. The intention you set before starting is a command in itself. Trust the process. Living from the blueprint. You have demolished the old foundations. You have chosen the bricks of your thoughts. And now, you possess the method for creating the perfect blueprints in the workshop of your imagination. You are the designer of your destiny. The practice of creative visualization is the highest act of power a human being can perform. It is the exercise of your inner divinity, your capacity to give birth to reality from the substance of your own consciousness. So, from today forward, stop looking anxiously at the empty plot of your present or the ruins of your past. Those are the creations of an unconscious, untrained architect. Your work now is different. Your work is to retreat to your sacred workshop every day, take up the tools of divine design, and with audacity, discipline, and a feeling-filled faith, draw the blueprints of the magnificent fortress of your dreams. Hand those blueprints over to your inner giant. He knows how to read them. He knows how to build. Chapter 5. The Energy Core. Feeling as the fuel for your power. In our journey so far, we have achieved monumental feats. We have torn down the cracked foundations of the beliefs that weakened us. We have learned to choose the noble bricks of our thoughts, rejecting the faulty materials of fear and negativity. And in the previous chapter, we summoned the master architect of our imagination to draw the detailed blueprints of the fortress of our dreams. We have a clean ground, the best materials, and a perfect blueprint. But if you stop here, you will meet the frustration of so many others who have grazed this knowledge. A pile of marble bricks and a brilliant blueprint will not build a cathedral. They will remain inert forever unless a force is applied, an energy that moves the materials and assembles them according to the design. In the universe of your mind, that energy, that fuel, that divine spark that gives life to the blueprint and commands the giant to begin construction, is feeling. This chapter is perhaps the most important of all because it deals with the very core of creative power. If you do not master this principle, everything else will be mere intellectual exercises. We have been raised in a culture that glorifies logical thought and dismisses emotion, viewing it as a sign of weakness or an irrational interruption. We have learned to repress our feelings, analyze them to death or ignore them, and in doing so we have disconnected ourselves from the greatest source of power we possess. Your emotions and feelings are not passive reactions to your reality. They are in fact the active force that is creating that reality. A thought is a form, a structure, a blueprint. But a feeling is a vibration, a frequency, an energy. Your subconscious mind, the inner giant, is not a logician or a linguist. It is a purely vibrational being. It responds not so much to the form of your thoughts as to the frequency of your feelings. Feeling is the language it understands. It is the Amen that confirms the prayer. It is the signature of the sovereign on the decree, which makes it law. Imagine your desire is a musical note written on a score. The thought, the image. The score is perfect but silent. Feeling is the act of a virtuoso musician, taking that note and playing it on an instrument, filling the room with its vibration. It is the vibration, not the written note, that produces an effect in the world. In the same way, it is the vibration of your feeling that produces an effect in the quantum field of reality. The great key, the master principle that unites everything we have learned, is this. To manifest a desire in your life, you must assume the feeling of the desire already fulfilled. It is not wishing for it. It is not longing for it. It is not hoping it happens. It is the radical act of faith of feeling here and now, the precise emotion you would feel if your goal were already a tangible reality. The master key. Thinking from the desire to understand this, we must make a crucial distinction between two ways of thinking. Thinking of your desire and thinking from your desire. Thinking of your desire is the most common mental state. It is the state of lack. When you think of the health you don't have, the money you lack, or the partner you yearn for, you are standing in your current reality, looking at your desire as something distant, something that is over there, in the future. The distance between you and your desire creates a tension, a longing. And the feeling that accompanies this state is one of lack, impatience, and doubt. By vibrating in the feeling of lack, what are you commanding your giant to create? More lack. Thinking from your desire is the mental state of the master creator. It is an act of disciplined imagination. Instead of standing here looking over there, you mentally transport yourself to the state of your fulfilled desire and think from that place. You are no longer the sick person who desires health. You mentally and emotionally assume the identity of the healthy person and think the thoughts that the healthy person would think. You are no longer the person in debt who yearns for wealth. You assume the consciousness of the prosperous person and think from that security. When you think from your desire, the feeling changes completely. Longing transforms into gratitude. Impatience dissolves into a calm certainty. Doubt is replaced by the peace of possession. This feeling, the feeling of being already that which you desire to be, is the only vibration your subconscious accepts as a command for creation. Now, we will perform a practical exercise so you can experience this shift in state. We will call this the occupation of the desired state. The occupation of the desired state. Find your quiet place. Close your eyes. Your physical body is the anchor of your current reality, with all its tensions and habitual sensations. To occupy a new state, we must first loosen the anchor. Perform a deep relaxation. Feel every muscle loosen, your body becoming heavy and passive. You are withdrawing your attention from the world of effects. Step 3. Don the robes of the new state. Now, you will use your imagination to dress yourself in the feeling you have chosen. Imagine that this feeling, say security, is like a royal, heavy and warm cloak. In your mind, feel how you place this cloak over your shoulders. Feel its comforting weight. Feel how its warmth begins to penetrate your body, dissolving any residue of anxiety. Feel the texture of the cloth of security. This is not an exercise in thinking about security. It is an exercise in embodying security. You are security now. Step 4. Think from the state. Remaining wrapped in this cloak of security, now look at your life through the eyes of this new identity. As a person who is the embodiment of security, how do you perceive your bills? No longer as threats, but as simple energy exchanges that you handle with calm and ease. As a secure person, how do you approach a work meeting, not with anxiety, but with a quiet confidence in your own competence? As a secure person, how do you interact with others? not from need or fear, but from fullness and authenticity. Spend several minutes in this state, simply being this new person and observing how the world seems different from this perspective. You are rehearsing your new identity. You are accustoming your nervous system to a new emotional frequency. The purest and most powerful emotion for this exercise, the one that inherently contains the feeling of the desire fulfilled, is gratitude. You cannot feel grateful for something you do not believe you possess. Therefore, gratitude is the signature of faith. It is the emotion of reception. Practice the art of giving thanks for your fulfilled desire, not as a formality, but with a deep and sincere emotion. Close your eyes and say, feeling every word, "Thank you, thank you, thank you for my perfect healing," which is already a fact. Thank you for the infinite abundance that fills my life and allows me to be generous. Thank you for the wonderful love that surrounds and sustains me. Feeling gratitude for something your eyes do not yet see is the most powerful act of faith you can perform. It is aligning your vibration entirely with that of your manifested desire. The in spite of bridge, overcoming resistance. Now, let's address the most common challenge and the biggest obstacle on this path. I try, but I can't feel it. I try to feel prosperous, but all I feel is the anxiety of my debts. I try to feel healthy, but all I feel is the pain in my body. This is a valid and real objection, and the solution is not struggle. If you try to forcibly repress a strong negative feeling, like fear, and superimpose a positive feeling, you create internal conflict, a civil war in your realm. And the result is exhaustion and failure. The feeling of the current reality, reinforced by years of habit and the evidence of your senses, is often stronger. Do not fight your current feelings. The first step is always to acknowledge them and allow them to be without judgment. Observe the feeling of fear or lack as a cloud in the sky of your consciousness. You are not the cloud, you are the sky. By observing it without resistance, the cloud often begins to lose its power and dissipate on its own. Once you have acknowledged the current feeling, you can use a bridging technique we will call the in spite of technique. It works like this. You say in your mind, I acknowledge that right now the evidence of my senses tells me I have this problem, and I am feeling the emotion of fear, anxiety, pain. I accept that this is what I feel at this moment. And then you make a conscious turn, and in spite of what my senses tell me, and in spite of what my body is feeling now, I, as the sovereign of my realm, choose to use my divine faculty of imagination for the next 5 minutes to enter the state of my fulfilled desire. Do you see the difference? You are not denying your current reality. You are acknowledging it, but you are deliberately choosing not to give it your creative power. You are declaring that your power to imagine and feel is more real and more fundamental than any temporary circumstance. To help you make this leap, you can frame it as an acting game. Tell your logical mind, okay, I know this isn't real right now, but let's play a game. For the next 10 minutes, I am going to be the best actor in the world. I am going to play the role of an immensely successful, secure person. How would that person walk? How would they breathe? What would they feel? By giving your logical mind this permission, this game framework, its resistance often decreases, and it allows you to access the desired feeling more easily and playfully. Another strategy, if the leap is too big, is to start with something smaller. If trying to feel immensely rich causes massive internal conflict, start with a more accessible feeling. How would you feel if one unexpected bill was paid? The feeling would be relief. Relief is a wonderful and powerful feeling. Practice entering the state of relief. Or instead of perfect health, start with the feeling of a restorative night's sleep. Master the ability to generate these smaller, more credible feelings. By doing so, you are building the muscle of your emotional power, and once you master the feeling of relief, it will be easier to move to the feeling of security, and from there to abundance. You have now reached the heart of creative power. You have understood that your thoughts are the blueprint, and your imagination is the architect, but your feeling is the construction power itself. It is the divine spark, the signature of God in the act of creation. It is the fuel for your inner giant. Your emotional system is now your guidance system, your most reliable compass. When you feel good, when you feel love, gratitude, peace, joy, you know you are entertaining thoughts that are in harmony with your true self and your deepest desires. You are building your fortress. When you feel bad, when you feel fear, anger, resentment, anxiety, it is an alarm. It is an alarm on the captain's dashboard telling you, "Attention, we are entertaining thoughts that are leading us toward a storm. It is time to correct course." Stop trying to think your way to success, health, or happiness. We'll have no choice but to move heaven, earth, and all circumstances of your life to make your feeling a glorious, tangible reality. Chapter 6. The Walls of Resilience. How to Stand Firm in the Storm. Up to now, on our journey to awaken your inner strength, we have focused on the creative power of your mind. You have learned to demolish old beliefs, to choose the bricks of your thoughts, and to design the blueprints of your desires with imagination, sealing them with the power of feeling. You have become the architect and the sovereign of your reality. But a wise sovereign knows that governance is not just an act of creation in times of peace. It is also an act of fortitude in times of adversity. Inevitably, storms will come to your kingdom. Life, in its infinite wisdom and cyclical nature, presents us with challenges. There will be external storms, an economic crisis, a job loss, a health problem, a conflict in a relationship. And there will be internal storms, days when old doubts and fears resurface strongly, moments when your emotional state seems to plummet for no apparent reason. An untrained mind, a fortress without walls, is devastated by these storms. It floods with panic, cracks under the pressure, and often collapses, leaving the individual feeling like a helpless victim of life. But you are no longer an untrained mind. The goal of this chapter is to teach you how to build the walls of your inner fortress, the walls of resilience. Resilience is not the capacity to avoid storms. No one can do that. Resilience is the capacity to remain standing, centered, and at peace in the middle of the storm. It is not the absence of challenges, but the unshakable conviction in your power to overcome them. A truly strong fortress is not one that is never attacked, but one whose walls are so solid and its foundations so deep that it can withstand any onslaught of wind and rain, remaining serene and intact within. We must begin by redefining our relationship with adversity. A storm is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are doing something wrong or that the universe is against you. From the perspective of building your inner strength, a storm is a stress test. It is an opportunity to test the integrity of the walls you have built, to identify any weak points, and to strengthen them. The wind of adversity, though uncomfortable, is what forces a tree's roots to sink deeper into the earth. Every challenge you overcome from your center of power does not weaken you. It strengthens you, tempers you, makes you more indestructible. So the goal is not to learn how to stop the rain. The goal is to become such a perfect refuge that you can hear the sound of the storm outside, not with fear, but with a serene calm, knowing that in the heart of your fortress you are safe and at peace. Building the walls, the 4 pillars of resilience. To build these walls, we will not use physical bricks but psychological and spiritual principles. These are the 4 pillars upon which all mental fortitude rests. Pillar 1, the cement of radical acceptance. When a storm breaks, the first instinct of an untrained mind is resistance. We scream at the heavens, "This shouldn't be happening, it's not fair, I don't want this." This mental resistance is like trying to stop a hurricane by blowing against it. It is a colossal and completely useless expenditure of energy. In fact, most of our suffering comes not from the event itself, the rain, but from our resistance to it, our anger that it's raining. The first pillar of resilience is radical acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation. Resignation is a passive victim attitude that says, "There's nothing I can do, so I give up." Acceptance is an act of sovereign power that says, "I acknowledge the reality of this situation as it is right now, without arguing with it, so I can act from a place of clarity and not panic." It is the general who, upon seeing the enemy army advance, does not waste time complaining about their presence, but calmly assesses their numbers and formation in order to plan the best defense. Acceptance is saying yes to the reality of the present moment. Yes, I lost my job. Yes, this person hurt me. Yes, I feel fear right now. By stopping the fight against what is, you release an immense amount of mental energy that was previously wasted in resistance. And that energy is now available to focus on the only question that matters. Given that this is the situation, what is the wisest next step? Practice this with the small frustrations of your day, the traffic jam, the line at the supermarket. Instead of resisting and getting angry, try breathing and mentally saying, "This is what is happening now. I accept it." Feel the tension decrease. You are training the muscle of acceptance. Pillar 2. The watchtower, the observer's perspective. When the emotional storm hits, whether it's the wind of panic or the hail of anger, the tendency is to fuse with the emotion. We say, "I am angry," or "I am scared." We become the storm. A resilient wall, however, has a watchtower, an elevated place from which the guardian can observe the storm without being swept away by it. This tower is your observing consciousness. It is the part of you that can step back and observe your own thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which the emotions happen. You are the sky, not the passing cloud. The technique for ascending this tower is simple, and we will call it name to tame. The moment you feel an intense emotion begin to surge, instead of being carried away, stop, breathe, and name the emotion as if you were a scientist observing a phenomenon. Instead of thinking, "I'm so angry," change your inner dialogue to, "I'm observing the sensation of anger arising in my body." Or instead of "I'm panicking," say, "I notice the energy of anxiety appearing in my chest." This change in language seems small, but it is monumental. It creates a crucial space between the observing I and the observed emotion. In that space, your power of choice resides. You are no longer a victim of the emotion. You are a conscious observer who can decide what to do with that energy. The emotion ceases to be a kidnapper and becomes a messenger. And as sovereign in your tower, you can hear the messenger's brief message without having to abandon your post. Pillar 3. The anchor of inner calm, nervous system regulation. A fortress needs a deep anchor to keep it stable, no matter the strength of the waves. Your anchor is your ability to consciously regulate your own nervous system, to move from an alarm state to a calm state. We have spoken of this before, but now we frame it as a defensive wall. When a threat, real or imagined, strikes, your internal alarm system, the amygdala, is triggered, activating the fight or flight response. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your breathing becomes shallow. You are preparing for battle. A resilient person does not try to stop this alarm with thought, but uses a physiological tool to calm it directly. The most powerful and quickest tool you possess is the physiological sigh. This is not a mystical breathing technique. It is a built-in mechanism in your nervous system for deactivating panic. Studies show it is the fastest way to reduce heart rate and calm the body. It works like this. 1. Inhale deeply through your nose. 2. When your lungs are full, without exhaling, take a second short, quick sip of air to fill them completely. 3. Now exhale very, very slowly through your mouth, as if deflating a balloon until no air remains. 4. Repeat this only 2 or 3 times. What just happened? By performing that double inhale, you opened the small air sacs in your lungs, the alveoli, allowing for a greater release of carbon dioxide on the exhale. The long, slow exhale, in turn, activates your vagus nerve, the brake of your nervous system, sending an immediate signal of calm to your brain. This physiological sigh is your reset button. It is the anchor you can drop in the middle of any storm of anxiety or panic. Practice it when you are calm to familiarize yourself with it, and then use it as your first line of defense when you feel the emotional storm begin to brew. Pillar 4. The inner refuge, your impregnable sanctuary. Every great fortress has at its center a keep, an armored inner chamber where the sovereign can retreat and remain completely safe, no matter what happens on the outer walls. This is your inner safe place, your sanctuary. We have already learned how to build it, but now we understand its strategic function. It is your final refuge. When the storm of the outer world is too overwhelming, when you feel bombarded by negativity, criticism, or chaos, you have the sovereign right to retreat to this place. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and transport yourself to that sanctuary you have designed in your imagination. Feel its peace, its silence, its absolute security. Remember that nothing and no one can enter here without your permission. In this space, you recharge. You reconnect with your center of power. It is not an act of evasion. It is an act of strategic withdrawal to regain strength before returning to battle. Knowing you have this impregnable refuge, available to you at any moment, gives you immense confidence to face the outer world. The battle on the walls. From defense to action. With your walls built, acceptance, the observer's perspective, the anchor of calm, and the inner refuge, you are prepared to defend yourself. But a good sovereign does not only defend, they also act. When you find yourself in the midst of a crisis, once you have used your tools to calm the initial panic, you must move into action. And for this you will use the sword of focus. A panicking mind scatters, focusing on 100 problems at once, becoming overwhelmed and paralyzed. A resilient, trained mind knows it can only do one thing at a time. Your job as sovereign in the midst of the crisis is to take your scepter of attention and focus it, like a laser beam, not on the magnitude of the problem, but on the only question that matters. What is the next step, however small, that I can take right now to improve this situation? Not, how am I going to solve all of this, but what is the next step? Is it making a call, sending an email, drinking a glass of water, going for a walk? By focusing on a single, small, manageable action, you move from being an overwhelmed victim to a powerful actor. And by completing that small action, you gain the momentum and clarity to identify the next one. This is how storms are crossed, one step at a time. While you act, you must protect yourself with the shield of faith. In the darkest moments, when the evidence of your senses screams that all is lost, you must raise the shield of your inner conviction. This is the moment to cling to your decree, to your vision of the final outcome. Create a crisis affirmation, a short, powerful phrase you can repeat like a mantra as you move through the storm. It should not be a denial of the problem, but an affirmation of your power over it. Phrases like, "Though this storm rages, my inner fortress is unshakable. The infinite intelligence within me knows the solution and guides me now. This too shall pass, and I will emerge stronger from it." Repeating this affirmation while you act is like the war cry of an army marching towards certain victory. Finally, a resilient sovereign must reinterpret the idea of defeat. There will be times when, despite your best efforts, things do not go as planned. A project may fail, a relationship may end, a wall may crack. The untrained mind sees this as a final defeat, proof of its weakness. The wise sovereign sees it as strategic information. A crack in the wall is not the end of the fortress. It is an invaluable lesson on where the reinforcements must go. A failure is not a verdict on your worth. It is a field report that teaches you which tactics don't work, bringing you closer to those that will. By adopting this mindset, failure loses its sting. You no longer fear it, because you know that every apparent defeat is, in reality, training that is preparing you for your ultimate victory. Calm after the storm. You have learned to build your walls and fight from within them. You have learned that resilience is not something you are born with, but something you build, brick by brick, principle by principle. It is not the absence of fear, but the courage to act despite the fear. It is not the absence of pain, but the wisdom to accept it and use it as fuel for growth. Every storm you weather from your center of power will leave your fortress stronger than it found it. The wind will have eroded the weakest parts of your beliefs, forcing you to replace them with more solid materials. The pressure will have forced the roots of your faith to sink deeper into the bedrock of your being. You will emerge from every challenge not just as a survivor, but as a veteran, a master of mental warfare, with a calm and confidence that no weather-related calm can bestow. So do not ask for a life without storms, for a calm sea never made a skilled sailor, and a kingdom in perpetual peace never forged a great sovereign. Instead, ask for the wisdom to build a fortress so unshakable and a heart so courageous that you can welcome the storm not with cheer, but with a serene smile, knowing that every gust of wind and every drop of rain only serve to reveal and confirm the indestructible power you have awakened within. Chapter 7. The Fortress Guardians. Training your thoughts for victory. In the previous chapter, we erected the walls of resilience. You learned how to build an inner fortress capable of withstanding life's storms, keeping you anchored in calmness through acceptance, the observer's perspective, and nervous system regulation. Your defenses are in place, but a fortress, no matter how imposing its walls, is a passive, inert structure if it does not have a well-trained army to defend it, to patrol its battlements, and to carry out the sovereign's orders. That army, the most loyal and powerful you will ever command, is your legion of thoughts. Every thought you have is a soldier in the army of your mind. Each one is armed and has a purpose. The question is, which sovereign do they serve? Are they loyal to your vision of power, success, and peace? Or are they traitors, mercenaries in the pay of fear, doubt, and negativity, working to sabotage your reign from within? The untrained mind is like an army without a general. It is a chaotic mob. The soldiers' thoughts run in all directions without a clear purpose. Some, frightened by outside rumors, run along the battlements shouting prophecies of disaster. We call this worry. Others, remembering old defeats, demoralize the rest of the troops, whispering that victory is impossible. We call this self-criticism and doubt. Some even fight among themselves, creating a civil war of internal conflict that drains the kingdom's resources, and the worst of all, the negligent sentinels leave the gates open for any negative suggestion from outside to enter and roam freely throughout the fortress. From today, you assume your role not only as the sovereign who issues decrees from the throne, but as the general-in-chief of the army of your mind. Your job is to transform that chaotic mob into an elite legion, a disciplined force, focused and absolutely loyal to your vision. A mental army so well trained that it not only defends your inner peace from any attack, but marches with unstoppable power to conquer any goal you set. This chapter is your military academy, the training ground, the discipline of thought. Every great army is forged on the basis of rigorous discipline. Training your thoughts requires the same principles: an oath of loyalty, the ability to identify the enemy, and a clear combat strategy. 1. The oath of loyalty, your commitment to victory. The first step for any recruit is to swear allegiance to their sovereign and their cause. Likewise, your first act as general is to demand absolute loyalty from your thoughts. You must make a conscious and powerful decision. From this moment forward, you refuse to allow your own mind to be a breeding ground for treason. You commit that the energy of your thoughts will serve only your highest good, your peace, your power, and the manifestation of your decrees. To formalize this oath, establish a morning roll call. Each morning, as part of your ritual, take a moment to present yourself before your mental army. Bring your main goal, your most important campaign right now, to your mind, and then issue your order of the day. Say in your mind with the authority of a general, "Attention, thoughts. Today our sole mission is to serve the victory of," mention your goal. Each of you will align with the energy of success, confidence, and the solution. I will not tolerate any thought of doubt, fear, or complaint. Our loyalty is to the sovereign's vision. Dismissed and fulfill your duty. This act, which may seem simple, is profoundly powerful. It is a declaration of intent that sets the framework for your mental governance throughout the day. It reminds your mind who is in command. 2. Identifying the enemy. Know the traitor soldiers. An effective general must know the tactics and appearances of their enemy to identify them instantly on the battlefield. Traitorous thoughts are masters of camouflage. They often disguise themselves as realism, prudence, or logic. You must learn to recognize their uniforms. The what-if soldier. This is the scout of the fear army. His job is to go ahead on the terrain of your future and imagine all possible disasters. He whispers to you, "What if the presentation goes badly? What if they don't like you? What if you run out of money?" Every one of his questions is a seed of anxiety designed to paralyze you. The never-always soldier. This is the pessimistic veteran. He bases his entire strategy on past defeats. He tells you, "I've never been good at this. I always make mistakes. Things never work out for me." He uses absolute words to turn a past failure into a life sentence. The should soldier. This is the inner critic, the military police who punishes you for not being perfect. He attacks you with phrases like, "You should have worked harder. You shouldn't have said that. You should be more like another person." His function is to generate guilt and shame, the emotions that most weaken your army's morale. The "it's not fair." Soldier. This is the agitator, the one who sows resentment and victimhood. He focuses on the actions of others and the injustices of the world, robbing your energy and making you feel powerless. Look what they did to you. Life is unfair to you. Learn to recognize these 4 types of soldiers. When one of them appears in your mind, your first job as general is not to believe his report, but to identify his uniform and his loyalty. Ah, that's a soldier from the fear army, he's a traitor. 3. Mental combat, the technique of immediate counterattack. Once you have identified a traitor soldier in your ranks, you cannot allow him to spread his demoralizing propaganda. You must neutralize him immediately, not with a passive defense, but with an offensive and overwhelming counterattack. This is a more advanced version of the substitution technique. Step A. Detect the traitor. Using your vigilant awareness, you realize a negative thought has appeared. For example, the never soldier whispers to you, "I'm never going to get this promotion." Step B. Challenge his authority with controlled fury. A general does not debate with a traitor. He silences him. Do not get tangled in the logic of the negative thought. Confront it with your sovereign authority. Respond mentally with almost furious but controlled energy. Silence. By what authority do you speak in my mind? Your report is a lie and a betrayal of my sovereign's decree. You have no power here. This act of energetic repudiation interrupts the thought pattern and reaffirms your dominion. Step C. Launch the counterattack with absolute truth. Immediately after silencing the traitor, you launch your counteroffensive. It is not a simple positive affirmation. It is an overwhelming declaration of power. If the thought was, "I'm never going to get this promotion," your counterattack is not, "I hope I get it." It is a decree of certainty. My success is inevitable. The infinite intelligence of my subconscious is orchestrating all circumstances for my promotion. This mental combat, practiced with consistency, retrains your army. The traitor soldiers learn that your fortress is no longer a safe place for them. Every time they are detected, they are confronted and annihilated by a superior force. Over time, their incursions will become weaker and less frequent. The elite legions, creating and deploying your power thoughts. A great general does not limit himself to defending his territory. He plans offensive campaigns. He does not wait for the traitors to appear to react. He proactively deploys his best troops to establish and maintain dominance. Your elite legions are a small, powerful army of affirmations or power thoughts that you have designed and trained in advance. The forging of your legions. Take time to sit as the sovereign and general you are, and forge your personal army. Create 3 to 5 elite affirmations, short, powerful, and in the present tense, that represent the fundamental truths of your new reign. Each will be the banner of one of your legions. The Legion of Confidence. Its banner could be, "I am one with infinite power, and I act with calm confidence and perfect wisdom at all times." The Legion of Health. Its banner could be, "In every cell in my body is a soldier of life, regenerating and vibrating at the frequency of perfect health." The Legion of Abundance. Its banner could be, "I am a magnet for prosperity. Wealth and success flow to me from all directions." The Legion of Harmony. Its banner could be, "I radiate love and goodwill, and I attract only harmonious and supportive relationships into my life." Write these affirmations. Memorize them. They are your shock troops, your Praetorian Guard. The strategic deployment of the legions. Once forged, you must deploy these legions strategically throughout the day. Morning deployment. Your morning ritual is the time to put your army into formation. After your oath of loyalty, recite each of your power affirmations. Do it with the authority of a general reviewing his best troops. Feel the power and truth of each phrase. You are deploying your defenses and setting the offensive tone for the day. Deployment at turning points. A wise general does not wait for the battle to begin. He anticipates. Identify the key moments in your day that tend to generate stress or doubt. Just before an important meeting, before making a difficult call, when you feel your energy dip in the afternoon. These are the turning points. Just before these moments, take 30 seconds. Retreat to your mental fortress and deploy the appropriate legion. If it's a meeting, summon your legion of confidence. Repeat its banner. Feel the confidence filling you. You are claiming the mental territory before the enemy has a chance to occupy it. The Night Guard. As you know, your last thoughts before sleep are the orders for your kingdom's night shift. Choose your most important legion, the one aligned with your main goal right now, and put it on guard. Repeat its affirmation like a lullaby, turning it into the sentinel that will patrol the walls of your mind all night long, ensuring your fortress is not only protected, but continues to build your victory while you sleep. The Victorious General. You have completed your training at the Mind's Military Academy. You have understood that your thoughts are not passive visitors, but active soldiers. You have learned to demand their loyalty, identify the traitors, and neutralize them with a power counterattack. And you have forged and learned to deploy your own elite legions to maintain a constant offensive toward victory. Living this way transforms your reality. External challenges are no longer perceived as overwhelming threats, but as opportunities for your army to demonstrate its training and strength. Failure ceases to be a possibility, because you know that every apparent defeat is simply a tactical maneuver on the path to the final victory that has already been decreed. Your inner world is no longer a chaotic battlefield, but an ordered fortress, commanded by a disciplined general and focused on a single purpose: the manifestation of the sovereign's vision. The outcome of every battle you fight in your life, in your finances, in your health, in your relationships, is decided first on the training ground of your own mind. Stop tolerating indiscipline, sedition, and treason in your mental ranks. Assume your rank. Train your thoughts. Arm them with faith. Discipline them with your attention, and direct them with a clear and unshakable purpose. In doing so, they will become an invincible army, a force of nature that will conquer for you any goal you choose, defend your inner fortress from any enemy, and establish in your life a reign of lasting power, peace, and victory. The order for victory has already been given in your mind. Now simply watch as your world snaps to attention before the authority of your decree. Chapter 8. The Citadel of Vitality. Projecting strength and healing into your body. As the sovereign of your inner kingdom, you've learned to govern your mind, direct your thoughts, and keep the peace within your walls. Now we'll apply this governing power to your most tangible dominion, the territory you inhabit every second of your life, your physical body. Your body isn't a separate vehicle transporting your consciousness. It's the physical and visible manifestation of your fortress. Every cell is a subject, every organ a province, and the general state of its health is the truest reflection of the quality and coherence of your mental reign. Modern medicine has often taught us to view the body as a biological machine, a collection of parts that wear out and break, requiring repair by external forces. But this view is limited. Your body isn't an inert machine. It's an ecosystem of living intelligence, a vibrant kingdom that responds with absolute loyalty to its ruler's directives. The mind-body connection isn't a metaphor, it's a direct, uninterrupted chain of command. Imagine the process. You, the sovereign, from the throne of your conscious mind, issue a decree, a thought charged with feeling. This decree is received by your grand vizier, the subconscious mind. The subconscious translates this command into the language of biology, sending chemical and neurological orders via the royal messengers, hormones and neurotransmitters to every corner of the realm. The billions of loyal subjects, your cells, receive and execute these orders without question, altering their function, structure, and behavior to align with the sovereign's original decree. This chain of command operates 24 hours a day. This leads us to an astonishing conclusion. Health isn't something that happens to us by chance. It's the result of harmonious mental governance. Illness isn't an inevitable fate. It's often the symptom of a kingdom in a state of rebellion, caused by the contradictory, fearful, or toxic decrees of an unconscious sovereign. In the deepest archives of your fortress, at the heart of your subconscious, lies the royal blueprint, or the original constitution of your body. It's the innate template of perfect health. It contains the perfect design for every organ, the ideal vibratory rhythm for every cell, and the formula for inexhaustible vitality and energy. The primary function of your inner giant, the master builder, is to maintain and repair the province of your body according to the perfection of this blueprint. The goal of healing, therefore, isn't to fight a disease. Fighting your own body is an act of civil war. And in a civil war, the kingdom always loses. The true path to healing is an act of governance. It's the act of withdrawing all counter-decrees of fear and negativity, and reaffirming with sovereign authority the fundamental law of the original constitution, commanding all your cellular subjects to realign with the innate perfection that resides in them. The silent invaders. How the sovereign's decrees make the kingdom sick. To restore order, we must first understand how disorder is generated. We must identify the invaders, the enemy propaganda we've allowed to infiltrate our court and sow discord in the provinces of our body. The propaganda of fear. Fear is the most destructive invader. A thought of fear about health is an alarm bell, a false alert that puts the entire kingdom into a state of emergency. When you obsess over symptoms, worry about news, or fear developing a loved one's disease, you're issuing a decree of panic. Your subconscious prepares the kingdom for war, activating the sympathetic nervous system and releasing a torrent of cortisol and adrenaline. Resources are diverted from the maintenance and repair ministry, your immune system, to the army. A state of chronic fear creates a perpetually exhausting civil war. Fear doesn't just weaken you mentally, it creates the perfect physiological environment for illness to take root. The propaganda of condemnation and guilt. At a deep subconscious level, there's often a belief that illness is a punishment. If we harbor unresolved guilt or deep resentment toward ourselves, the subconscious may manifest this need for punishment as a physical ailment. Healing the body in these cases first requires issuing a decree of forgiveness and self-acceptance in the court of the mind. The propaganda of resignation. Phrases like, "Back pain is normal at my age," or "My family has a history of thyroid issues, so I will too," are decrees of resignation. They show the sovereign accepting external statistics as the immutable law of their own kingdom. You are abdicating your power to collective belief. As sovereign, you must remember that the laws of other kingdoms don't apply in yours unless you adopt them. Your final decree must be based on the original constitution of your own being, one of perfection and timeless vitality, the propaganda of the sickly identity. The most powerful words a sovereign can utter are "I am." What follows those words becomes the fundamental law of your realm. When you say, "I am a sickly person," you are fusing your sovereign identity with the illness. You are ordering your cellular subjects to express and maintain the identity of a sick person. The change of decree is vital. You must separate who you are from what you experience. Instead of, "I have a terrible flu," affirm, "I am a being of perfect health, and my body is processing and eliminating a virus." Retreat to your private chamber. The most powerful gateway is the drowsy state before sleep. Fully relax your body. Use your breath to calm your mind. Enter a state of deep peace and receptivity. You are silencing the court's noise, so the sovereign's voice is the only one heard. Step 2. The reading of the original constitution, the healing visualization. Once calm, use your orb of imagination to contemplate the royal blueprint of your body. Close your physical eyes and open your mind's eye. Visualize a radiant, ethereal version of yourself, your original blueprint. It is perfect, complete, vibrant, and absolutely healthy. If you have a specific ailment, direct your consciousness to that area. Crucially, do not see it as sick or damaged. See past the physical appearance and observe the perfect blueprint of light for that organ. Imagine millions of your loyal cellular subjects weaving new, vibrant tissue, following the blueprint of light you hold in your mind. Feel the area warming, vibrating, filling with life. The healing intelligence of my kingdom now restores every cell to its divine order. It is done. My body was created by an infinite intelligence, and that same intelligence is healing and restoring it now. The most potent. Thank you. Thank you for my radiant and perfect health. Feel every word as a vibration of truth that resonates, giving a clear and unequivocal order to your inner master builder. Step 4. The sovereign's faith, the mental Sabbath. Once the order is issued, your work is done. You have delivered the blueprints and the decree. Now the reign of faith begins. Stop issuing edicts of fear and resignation. Ascend your throne every day. Unfurl the magnificent royal blueprint of perfect health. And issue, with the calmness and certainty of your power, the decree that returns every corner of your kingdom to its natural state of radiant vitality, harmony, and perfection. Remember always, in the citadel of your being, your word is the law. Claim your birthright to health now. Chapter 9. Extending the Dominion. Using your inner strength to conquer your goals. A wise and powerful sovereign does not build an impregnable fortress to hide from the world. They do not polish their walls and train their armies to live in a state of fearful isolation. A strong fortress, an inner kingdom at peace and in order, is not an end in itself. It is a base of operations. It is the secure and stable command center from which the great campaigns of expansion are planned and launched. It is the wellspring of power from which the sovereign projects their vision and influence onto the outer world. Until now, much of our work has focused on inner order, on cleaning the foundations, choosing thoughts, designing blueprints, cultivating feelings, and training our guardians. You have learned to be the master of your inner world. Now, you will learn to be a master in the outer world. You will discover that the achievement of your most ambitious goals is not a struggle against a hostile world, but the natural and ordered expansion of the peace and power you have already cultivated within your walls. The sequence is immutable. First, you establish order and power within, and then that order and power are reflected in the outside as success and achievement. Trying to conquer goals in the world from a state of inner chaos, doubt, and weakness is like sending a demoralized army without a general into an impossible battle. You are destined for struggle and failure. But acting in the world from an inner fortress of calm, certainty, and power is like sending an elite legion, commanded by a genius strategist, toward an already assured victory. We must begin by redefining what it means to conquer a goal. In the language of the mind, conquest is not an act of brute force. It is not an aggressive battle against competition or circumstances. Mental conquest is an act of expansion of consciousness. It is the process of claiming a territory in your imagination with such conviction and feeling that the physical world has no choice but to reorganize itself to reflect your new possession. You do not fight for your goal. You attract it by becoming within the person who has already achieved it. The outer world does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. And you, as sovereign, have the absolute power to define who you are. Think of the circumstances of your life as malleable clay. An undisciplined mind, full of contradictory thoughts, is like a pair of trembling hands that can barely leave an imprint on the clay. But a trained mind, focused and full of faith, is like the firm, expert hands of a master sculptor. It can take that same clay and mold it into any shape it decrees. Your inner fortress is that sculptor's studio. It is the command center from which you shape the substance of your reality. The Royal Campaign Plan. The Art of Mental Conquest. Every great expansion campaign begins with a clear plan in the throne room. Armies are not sent out at random. A target is chosen, a map is drawn, and the strategy for victory is established. To conquer your goals, you will follow this same sovereign protocol. Step 1. The choice of territory. Define your goal with sovereign clarity. A sovereign does not say, "I want to expand my kingdom." He says, "I will annex the northern province." Likewise, you cannot have a vague goal like, "I want to be successful," or "I want to be creative." You must choose a huge specific territory. What is the next province you wish to add to your dominion? Is it the province of launching my own consulting business? That of writing and publishing my first novel? That of obtaining my engineering degree? Or that of running my first marathon? Be ruthlessly specific. The clearer the objective, the more precise the order for your inner giant. Write your goal in the form of a royal decree of intention. For example, by my sovereign decree, the province of my prosperous and successful career as a graphic artist is now part of my kingdom and under my governance. This act of definition is like planting your standard on the map and declaring your intention to the universe. Step 2. The Victory Parade. Visualize the glorious end. A brilliant general wins the battle in his tent the night before, visualizing every move toward an inevitable victory. You, as sovereign, will do something even more powerful. You will ignore the battle completely and transport yourself directly to the victory parade. In your imagination workshop, in your receptive state, you are going to construct the scene that implies your campaign has been a resounding success. Remember, always go to the end. If your goal is to launch a business, do not visualize the long nights of work or the search for clients. Visualize the scene of the grand opening of your office. Feel yourself cutting the ribbon. Hear the applause of your friends and family. Feel the key to your new premises in your hand and the surge of pride and accomplishment. Or visualize your first major client shaking your hand and saying, "We are delighted to work with you." If your goal is to write a novel, do not imagine the hours spent staring at a blank page. Imagine yourself at your book presentation. Feel the weight of the first printed copy in your hands. Read your name on the cover. Smell the paper. Sign an autograph for an enthusiastic reader. Feel the gratitude and joy of having completed your work. If your goal is a physical achievement, like completing a marathon, do not focus on the pain of training. Visualize the exact moment your feet cross the finish line. Hear the crowd's roar. Feel the cold, heavy metal being placed around your neck. Feel the embrace of a loved one waiting for you at the end, and the feeling of glorious exhaustion and immense personal power. Build your victory scene. Make it short, vivid, sensory, and above all, filled with the emotion of triumph. This is the blueprint for your victory, and you are delivering it to your master strategist, your subconscious. Step 3. The general's confidence. Embody the feeling of victory. Once the victory blueprint has been designed, the general does not allow himself a hint of doubt. He walks, talks, and acts with the calmness and certainty of someone who is leading an invincible army toward an already decided outcome. This is your job now, to embody the feeling of inevitability. It is not anxious hope, it is not nervous excitement, it is a serene certainty. It is the inner peace that comes from knowing the battle has already been won in the only place where battles are truly won, in the field of consciousness. It is knowing that the creation is already complete on the invisible plane, and that the physical world is simply in the process of catching up. Every day, dedicate time to cultivating this feeling. Ask yourself, how would I feel if I knew with absolute certainty that the success of my goal is inevitable? And then breathe and enter that state. Feel how anxiety dissolves and is replaced by a powerful calmness. This is the vibrational frequency you must maintain. Step 4. The secret password. The success lullaby. To seal your campaign every night, you will use your secret password, your lullaby, which gives the final command to your subconscious army to work while you sleep. Choose a word or a short phrase that encapsulates the essence of your victory. Simple words like success, victories achieved, or it is done repeated over and over in your drowsy state while feeling the emotion of your victory parade are incredibly effective. Or a phrase like, "Thank you for the perfect, divinely ordered success of my project." Fall asleep on the victor's field, not in the worried soldier's tent. The army's march, faith and inspired action. Once the decree has been issued and the mental campaign has been planned, the army sets out. This is where many aspiring sovereigns fail. They believe the work is purely mental and sit on their throne to passively wait for victory to arrive at their gates. But faith without action is an illusion. Your inner giant, your master strategist, will begin to build the bridge of incidents for you. But you, the sovereign in the physical world, must be willing to walk across that bridge. Here we must distinguish between two types of action, forced effort and inspired action. Forced effort is born of the conscious mind, the fortress guardian. It is motivated by fear, doubt, and the belief that, if I don't struggle and exhaust myself, I won't get it. It feels like pushing a rock uphill. It is stressful, draining, and often leads you in the wrong direction because you are operating from your limited logic. Inspired action, on the other hand, is the marching order given to you by your subconscious general. It doesn't feel like a push, but like a pull. It is the sudden hunch to call a person. It is the brilliant idea that appears out of nowhere. It is the inexplicable impulse to go to a certain place where you casually run into the perfect person or opportunity. Inspired action feels easy, fluid, natural. It doesn't drain your energy, it multiplies it. Your job as the daytime sovereign is to cultivate a state of relaxed alertness. Keep your goal in the back of your mind, but don't obsess over it. Live your daily life, but keep your inner ears open to the whispers of your general. Meditation, walks in nature, moments of silence are the times when you quiet the noise of the court and can hear the directives of your strategist most clearly. When you receive one of these inspirations, act on it. Trust is a two-way street. Every time you act on an intuition and get a good result, your confidence in your inner guidance grows. And as your confidence grows, your subconscious sends you increasingly clearer and bolder guidance. Sometimes, the guidance may seem illogical to your conscious mind. You may feel prompted to take a course on a topic seemingly unrelated to your goal, only to discover that the person you meet there is the key to your next step. Or you may feel the urge to take a detour on your way, only to stumble upon an opportunity you would never have seen. The faith of the sovereign is the willingness to follow the orders of their general, even when they do not understand the entire strategy. Trust that the giant sees the complete map. And what about obstacles? They will appear. They are the terrain of the campaign. When an obstacle appears in your path, do not see it as a sign of failure. Do not allow panic to seize your court. An obstacle is simply a logistical problem for your brilliant general. Your job as sovereign is not to solve it with your limited logic. Your job is to retire to your throne, reaffirm your vision of the victorious final outcome, and then formally hand the problem over to your subconscious, as we saw in the previous chapter. Ask for the solution and trust that it will be revealed to you. And then, wait for the inspired action that will show you how to bypass, traverse, or dissolve that obstacle. The celebration of conquest. By following this method, decreeing the end, feeling the victory, trusting the guidance, and acting with inspiration, the achievement of your goals ceases to be an uncertain struggle and becomes an ordered, majestic procession. Every goal you achieve, every province you annex to your kingdom, does not just give you the fruit of that specific achievement, it also strengthens your power as sovereign. Every victory becomes further proof that the law of your mind works. Your faith becomes unshakable, your trust in your inner giant becomes absolute, and success, like anything else, becomes a habit. Your life transforms into an adventure of continuous, joyous expansion. Once you have conquered one province, you do not stop. From the new perspective and with the new resources you have gained, you are already scanning the horizon, choosing the next territory to claim, the next ideal to manifest. The world does not grant you success. The world surrenders to the authority of your sustained vision and your unshakable faith. Stop begging for victory like a servant. Rise up as the sovereign you are. Choose your territory. Draw the map of your triumphal parade. Seal your decree with the feeling of the accomplishment already consumed, and march with the calm certainty that your inner giant knows no defeat. Your inner strength is not a passive wall to hide behind. It is a conquering army, ready to claim the dominion that is rightfully yours. Now go and expand your kingdom. Chapter 10. The Impregnable Fortress. Living anchored in your inner power. We have completed a monumental journey. We began in the ruins of a forgotten fortress, its foundations cracked by old beliefs, and its courtyards overgrown with the weeds of fear and doubt. Together, we have undertaken the arduous and sacred task of reconstruction. You have demolished the foundations that weakened you. You have learned to manufacture and choose the bricks of your thoughts. You have summoned the architect of your imagination to design new and magnificent blueprints. You have learned to use the fuel of feeling to bring life to your creations. You have erected the walls of resilience and trained the guardians of your mind for victory. The fortress is built. The giant sleeping within has been awakened. Your training is complete. You have graduated as the master builder of your own reality. This final chapter is not about learning a new technique. It is about how to live, breathe, and be the fortress you have constructed. It is about moving from the conscious effort of construction to the state of serene and powerful habitability. Living in an impregnable fortress does not mean living a life free of challenges. Storms will continue to form on the horizon. Armies of adverse circumstances will continue to march. The difference is that you will no longer observe them from a straw hut, trembling with fear. You will observe them calmly from the highest tower of your inner citadel, with a quiet certainty in your heart. The certainty that your foundations are deep, your walls are solid, and the power residing within you is infinitely greater than any force that can assault you from the outside. Your center of gravity has shifted. Before, your emotional state depended on the changing winds of the outer world. Now, your center is anchored in the bedrock of your own inner power. The outer world no longer dictates how you feel. It is your inner feeling, sustained with serene discipline, that begins to dictate the conditions of the outer world. But a magnificent fortress, once built, requires maintenance, not anxious and exhausting maintenance, but the serene and consistent rituals of a sovereign who loves their dominion. These practices are no longer exercises you must force yourself to do. They become the natural expression of your new identity, as automatic and vital as breathing. They are the rituals of the perpetual guardian, the trinity of mental mastery. The rituals of the perpetual guardian, your lifelong practice. These 3 daily rituals are the pillars of your prosperous reign. They are the acts through which you keep your fortress clean, strong, and in constant communication with the power of the giant that dwells within. 1. The morning tuning, raising the standard, 15 minutes. Consider the first minutes of your day as the most important ceremony of your kingdom. It is the moment the sovereign raises their standard on the highest tower, declaring the energy and intention that will govern that day. It is the act of tuning your being, like a musician tuning their instrument before a great concert. The awakening in gratitude. Before your feet touch the floor, before your mind rushes into the to-do list, your first conscious act is to find something to feel gratitude for. The feeling of the sheets, the gift of a new day, the sound of a loved one's breathing beside you. Gratitude is the tuning of the heart. It tunes your being to the frequency of abundance from the very first second. The proclamation of identity. Next, reaffirm who you have chosen to be. This is your declaration of sovereignty. With eyes still closed, silently decree, I am the embodiment of strength, peace, and power. I am the conscious director of my mind and the creator of my reality. I am guided, protected, and prosperous in everything I do. Feel the truth of these words resonating within you. The visualization of the victorious day. Now, dedicate 5 minutes to your orb of imagination. Not to worry, but to create. Visualize the key events of your day not as challenges, but as opportunities already resolved successfully. If you have a meeting, feel yourself leaving it with a sense of accomplishment. If you have a difficult task, feel yourself completing it with ease. If you want a harmonious interaction, feel that warmth already. You are creating a vibrational field of success for yourself to walk through during the day. The decree of trust. Finalize your ritual by handing the day over to your wisest partner. Say, my inner giant, my subconscious power, I hand this day and this blueprint to you. I know and trust your power to guide me, to inspire me, and to smooth my path. Manifest this vision in the best possible way. Thank you. It is done. By performing this morning tuning, you stop starting the day by reacting to circumstances and start creating them from their source. 2. Daytime presence. The sovereign strolling through their realm. Your work during the day is no longer a constant battle. It is a practice of sovereign presence. It is the act of walking through your kingdom with a calm, attentive consciousness. The art of feeling through. Become an observer of your own internal state. Several times a day, pause for 10 seconds and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What is the climate in my kingdom? If you detect a cloud of anxiety or a gust of irritation, do not judge yourself. Simply notice it. And then, consciously, use one of your tools. Perform a physiological sigh. Repeat your power affirmation. Anchor yourself back in the present. It is a constant, gentle act of mental gardening. Living in the atmosphere of gratitude. Gratitude is not just for the morning. Make it the atmosphere of your fortress. Actively look for things to be thankful for throughout the day. A tasty meal, a kind word, a ray of sunshine. Every act of gratitude is a reinforcement in your walls. It tells your subconscious, my kingdom is prosperous and full of good. The practice of benign indifference. Learn to observe the dramas of the outer world without allowing them to become the climate of your inner kingdom. You read a negative news story. You acknowledge the information, but you refuse to give it your emotional energy. You mentally say, interesting, but in my kingdom, I decree peace and order. You develop an immunity, a calm that cannot be disturbed by external chaos. 3. The nightly imprinting. Alchemy in the darkness. The night remains your most sacred workshop. It is the moment the architect meets the master builder to review the blueprints and give orders for the next day. Cleansing the parchment. Revision. Before your main practice, clean the day's slate. Use the revision technique to transform any moment of discord or failure into a victory. By rewriting the past in your imagination, you neutralize its emotional charge and ensure you do not carry any negative vibration into your most creative state. The sowing of the master seed. Now focus on your most important long-term goal, your main goal. This is your chance to give your giant a clear, focused instruction for its night work. Perform your complete decree ceremony, deep relaxation, vivid visualization of your fulfilled desire, and total immersion in the feeling of faith and gratitude. The seal of sleep. The last act of the day's sovereign is the most important. It is to fall asleep in the consciousness of their fulfilled desire. Lull yourself with your lullaby, with your word of power. Let the feeling of victory be the last sensation you experience before crossing the threshold of sleep. You are handing your decree over at the moment of maximum creative power, ensuring that the infinite forces of your subconscious will work on your behalf all night long. Living as the fortress. The signs of mastery. When these practices stop being something you do and become who you are, your experience of life fundamentally changes. You will begin to notice the signs of true mastery. The first sign is an unshakable calm in the midst of chaos. When a problem arises, you will notice that your first reaction is no longer panic but a tranquil curiosity. Instead of, oh no, this is terrible, your thought will be, interesting. What solution will my inner giant present to me for this? Your inner peace will cease to be negotiable and dependent on external circumstances. The second sign is the loss of need. When you live anchored in your inner fortress, your happiness and sense of worth no longer depend on achieving a specific outcome or obtaining the approval of others. You still have desires and goals, but you pursue them from a place of fullness, not lack. You no longer need them to happen to feel complete, and paradoxically, it is in that state of non-need that the things you desire flow toward you with greater ease. The third sign is that synchronicity becomes your normal state. Fortunate coincidences cease to be rare events and become your day-to-day experience. The right person calls you at the right time. The correct book falls off the shelf. The perfect opportunity appears out of nowhere. You understand that this is not luck, but the logistics of your inner giant, the bridge of incidents that unfolds before you because you have maintained a clear vision and firm faith. Finally, the deepest sign of mastery is that you start to live intuitively. You trust your hunches and your inspirations more than the endless analyses of your logical mind. You have established such a fluid relationship with your silent partner that its guidance becomes your primary compass. You move through life not with the rigidity of a plan, but with the grace of a dance, responding confidently to the silent music of your intuition. And then the ultimate transformation occurs. Your fortress ceases to be just a refuge for you. It becomes a beacon. A person who lives anchored in their inner power radiates an energy of calm, certainty, and peace that affects everyone around them. Your presence becomes healing. Your calmness reassures others. Your confidence inspires them. Without saying a word, simply by being you, you become a force for good in the world. Your impregnable fortress becomes a sanctuary for others. The unleashed giant. We have completed the circle. The journey that began with the discovery of a sleeping giant ends with the embodiment of its power. The fortress you have built is not a structure of stone and mortar. It is your new consciousness. And the giant you have awakened is not a force separate from you. It is the unlimited expression of your true self. They are fused. They are one. You are no longer the fearful guardian of a power you do not understand. You are the conscious embodiment of that power. There are no walls that can contain the expansion of your being. There are no goals that can elude the intention of your focused mind. You have become a force of nature, the creating mind in action. Your building journey is complete. The practice of mastery is for a lifetime. Now, let your legacy begin. Conclusion. We have reached the end of this map, the end of instruction, but the true beginning of your life lived from power. Take a moment to honor the journey you have made. Remember the person who felt like a leaf at the mercy of the wind, who sought strength in external places, often feeling small before the challenges of life. That person no longer exists. Through your dedication and your courage, you have undertaken the most important expedition of all, the journey to the center of your own being. You are no longer a seeker of power. You have become the source of power. You have excavated the ruins of your forgotten fortress, demolished the cracked foundations of the beliefs that limited you, and brick by brick, with the power of your thoughts, you have rebuilt an impregnable citadel within. You have learned that your imagination is the architect of your destiny, and that your feeling is the fuel that gives life to your creations. You have erected the walls of resilience, trained your thoughts like an army of victorious guardians, and learned to project that strength to heal your body and conquer your goals. The giant sleeping within you has awakened. It is no longer an unconscious, uncontrolled force, but your partner, your servant, your inner genius, waiting with infinite power for your clear and deliberate commands. The tools, the strategies, the blueprints, everything you need for a life of mastery is already in your hands. You have completed the construction of your fortress, but the journey of a master never ends. It is a path of continuous expansion and practice. If this guide to awakening your power has ignited a flame within you, I invite you to keep it alive and grow it with us. Join our community of reality architects. Like this audiobook, if you have felt the awakening of your own strength. Comment below and make your first declaration of power. My giant has awakened. Share this map with those you love who also need to find their way home to their own fortress. And most importantly, subscribe to our channel, The Hidden Knowledge, and activate the notification bell. Every new piece of content is a reinforcement for your walls and a new strategy for your inner governance, ensuring your power continues to grow every day. Now, instruction ceases and life begins. Every sunrise is an opportunity to govern your mind. Every challenge is an opportunity to demonstrate your strength. Every thought is an opportunity to create. Always remember who you are. Not the leaf, but the wind. Not the victim, but the power. Not the fortress guardian, but the fortress itself. The giant has awakened. Now go and show the world what it is capable of.